A Bookworm's Journey in the Cardinal World. Tensura X Ascendance of a Bookworm by Galaxycharmer123. 10-man and monster summit 2 third-person POV in the heart of Tempest. A historic meeting was taking place, a gathering of men and monsters, the first of its kind. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as representatives from various nations convened to discuss the future. Shuna, poised and composed, stood as the arbiter. Representing the armed nation of Dworgen is King Gazel Dworgo. Representing the sorcerer dynasty Sarian is Archduke Erald. Representing the Kingdom of Bloomend is the Freedom Association Guildmaster, Fuse. Representing the Animal Kingdom Eurazania are the 3 Beastketeers, Albus, Sufia, and Phobio. Representing the Juru Tempest Federation is Rimuru Tempest. I, Shuna, will act as an arbiter in this meeting. Please continue. Thank you all for attending this meeting. I will now inform you about our war with Farmus and our plans moving forward. Rimuru began, his voice steady and confident. He proceeded to recount the events of the war, detailing the strategies employed and the policies they intended to implement in the future. That is all from me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, Rimuru concluded, opening the floor to inquiries. I have one, Demon Lord Rimuru. Archduke Erald spoke up first, his tone formal. Come on, Papa. Do you really need to ask questions now? Ellen interjected, clearly not amused. Ellen Chan, Erald exclaimed, a hint of exasperation in his voice. Princess, Lord Erald is trying his best. You should support him, Kaval and Guido chimed in, attempting to appease the princess. Really, how far the Archduke has fallen, Gazel remarked, a teasing glint in his eyes. Erald had no response, his expression a mix of embarrassment and determination. Suddenly, the atmosphere grew heavy as a powerful aura emanated from Rimuru, commanding attention. Very well, I'm listening. Ask your question, Rimuru said, his voice calm yet authoritative. Then I shall. Please answer truthfully, as it will determine our response to the birth of a new demon lord. May I know what your vision and goals are as a demon lord? Erald inquired, his gaze steady. The aura dissipated and Rimuru's expression shifted to one of surprise. My dream is to create a world where everyone can lead a peaceful life without any worries for food or safety. That is far too ambitious, wouldn't you say? Erald challenged, his tone skeptical. I know, but an ideal with no power to back it up is nonsense, and power without ideals is pointless, wouldn't you say? Rimuru countered, his conviction unwavering. You do have a point. I now see your vision and hence declare, with the power bestowed upon me by our Empress, I, Archduke Erald, formally recognize the Juru Tempest Federation and wish to open diplomatic ties with Tempest, Erald announced, extending his hand. I accept, Archduke Erald, Rimuru replied, shaking his hand firmly, sealing a new alliance. By the way, I wanted to ask what happened to Magic Master Raisin and how your encounter with Hinata went, Gazel inquired after Erald had taken his seat. I would like to know as well. Master Raisin is a renowned master of magic, and even in our country of Sarian, he commands great respect. He has protected the nation of Farmus for hundreds of years, Erald added, his curiosity piqued. Ah, Raisin. He was defeated easily by my new subordinate, Diablo, a demon I summoned to capture him after I went into my evolutionary slumber. As for Hinata, I defeated her when we met. It was a close fight where she nearly won, but she made me too angry to hold back my power, as a result of which she was defeated, Rimuru explained, his tone matter-of-fact. So you are saying that not only did you defeat Raisin very easily, but that you are stronger than Hinata the Saint? She is close in power to mine, so you have surpassed me in terms of power. What a joke, Gazel exclaimed, a mix of disbelief and admiration in his voice. Now, onto the 3 Beastketeers. Have you sufficiently established your base? Rimuru asked, turning his attention to the representatives from Eurazania. We have, and we are eternally grateful, Lord Rimuru, Albus replied, her voice filled with gratitude. What are your plans now? Rimuru inquired, curious about their next steps. We plan to regroup and establish a new capital for our nation and to avenge the death of our lord and master, Sufia declared, her resolve evident. Very well, I will support your attack on Demon Lord Clayman's domain when the time comes. He has caused far too many problems for us, Rimuru assured them, his support unwavering. We are grateful, Phobio added, his voice sincere. Now, how will the Western Holy Church react to it? Rimuru mused aloud, pondering the potential repercussions. Were there people present to witness it? Gazel asked, his tone thoughtful. No, there were no people present. It was just me and her, Rimuru replied, recalling the encounter. Then they will most likely bury that incident and take a cautious approach against you, knowing that they can't defeat you now. It works to your advantage as it gives you more negotiating power, Gazel concluded, his analysis astute. That is certainly good for us. What I don't understand is their worldview. I tried talking to Hinata, but she was not ready to listen to reason, even after I told her I was reincarnated into this world like her, Rimuru admitted, his frustration evident. Makes sense. Their doctrine states to not make contact or negotiate with monsters and to kill them without mercy, Gazel explained, his tone resigned. I can see that working for non-intelligent beings, but for monsters like us, it will do more harm than good, Rimuru argued, his voice firm. You do have a point there. Even I don't know their doctrine, as they regard us as close to monsters, Gazel admitted, his tone contemplative. What I want to know is their exact doctrine and their worldview. Fortunately for us, we have a person who can explain it to us, Rimuru said, a plan forming in his mind. Shuna, call mine for me. She must be in my library, Rimuru instructed, turning to his trusted aide. As you wish, Rimuru-sama, Shuna replied, leaving the room to fetch mine. While they waited, Errol began negotiating with Rimuru to build roads to their country to facilitate trade. Well, we can take care of all building expenditures, but I want taxing and polling rights, Rimuru proposed, his tone businesslike. A reasonable demand, but I want the right to negotiate these tax rates every 5 years or so, Errol countered, his tone equally firm. Fine with me. Deal? Rimuru agreed, shaking hands with Errol as Shuna returned with mine. Thank you for coming, mine. We need your insight on the Western Holy Church's doctrine, Rimuru said, welcoming her into the discussion. Of course, Rimuru-sama. I will do my best to explain, mine replied, her voice steady and confident. Mine then took the stage to answer the question being asked. Mine's pav I was nestled comfortably in Rimuru's library, immersing myself in the world of books to distract from the weighty decisions looming over me. Rimuru was right. I would live long enough to see all my connections to this world fade away. The thought was daunting, and while I disliked the idea of making new connections, I understood Rimuru's perspective. Say, what should I do about Rimuru's proposal? I pondered, seeking guidance. I suggest you take it, mistress. I don't want to say it, but Shizu, who was my previous owner, was also very lonely. She lost all her connections to her previous world and was summoned to this one by Demon Lord Leon Cromwell. She couldn't stand him and decided to leave, but he bestowed upon her me so that I could prolong her life. I didn't understand at the time and made no attempt to connect with Shizu, actively harming her. Shizu was determined to stay human and not accept me, so we were at odds. This came to a head when Shizu's death approached, and I was freed from her shackles. I caused widespread destruction before Lord Rimuru stopped and trapped me. Don't make the same mistake I did. Accept Rimuru's proposal and try to make new connections. Otherwise, you will be left all alone in this world with no one to depend on. As a spirit who has lived a long life, I can tell you it is extremely hard to live without making connections, Ifrit advised, his voice filled with wisdom. I understand, but how will I convey it to my parents? I don't want to lose them. They lived with me even when I was too sickly to walk. I really love them, and I can't bear to lose them, I confessed, my heart heavy with emotion. I understand the feeling. I watched Shizu care for children who were on the verge of death due to mana abundance. They were left to die by the world, but Shizu gave them hope and tried to help them in any way she could. Her last journey was because of this, where she died and passed on her final regrets to Rimuru, who fulfilled his promise to her by saving those children. He also promised them to save you from your fate, as that is what he promised them when they learned about you, Ifrit explained, his voice gentle. Really, I would really like to meet them then, but I should make my decision soon before my parents arrive here, I mused, feeling a sense of urgency. Yes, you should, mistress, Ifrit agreed. Suddenly, my thoughts were interrupted by Shuna, who entered the library. Lady mine, Lord Rimuru has requested your presence at the meeting, Shuna announced, her voice polite. Why? I have zero idea about politics and will only be a burden, I protested, feeling out of my depth. He wants to know about the religious doctrine of luminism, and since you were an apprentice shrine maiden, you would have a good idea about how it works, Shuna explained, her tone encouraging. But I was just a mere apprentice shrine maiden. I do not know much about their internal workings, I argued, hesitant. That is fine. We just want to know about luminism as a religion, Shuna reassured, her persistence unwavering. Seeing as she was refusing to back down, I relented. Fine, if that is what you want. Thank you. If you could follow me, milady, Shuna requested, gesturing for me to accompany her. Of course, if you would please, I replied, rising to follow her. We reached the meeting point, where Rimuru was shaking hands with an elf whom I recognized as RCH Duke Errol. It seems like some kind of deal was finalized. I decided to perform the standard greetings to nobles, as taught by Fran when I was to work in the nobles' quarter. Hello, everyone present here. It is nice to meet you. My name is Mine, and I am a demi-spirit from Ehrenfest. May I pray for a blessing in appreciation of this serendipitous meeting ordained by Lady Luminius's affectionate gaze? You may, Rimuru replied, seemingly familiar with our system of greetings, likely from the head priest. May this meeting be blessed, I said, releasing a small bit of mana from my palm. I should have used a ring, but that is only for nobles, and since I was not one, I did not have one. You know your greetings well, Mine, replied King Gazel of Dwargon, his voice approving. Thank you for your high praise, I responded, grateful for the acknowledgement. You can drop the act, Mine. No need to act like a noble here. Speak freely as you wish, Rimuru interjected, which was a relief to me, as I was really bad at acting like a noble. So, what do you want to know, Lord Rimuru? I asked, feeling more at ease. Rimuru is fine, and I want to know about your church, how it works and who holds what kind of power, Rimuru inquired, his tone curious. I was just a mere shrine maiden, but I will try to give your answer to the best of my abilities, I replied, ready to share what I knew. I explained how the church worked. Each cathedral had priests and shrine maidens. Over them were the head priest and the head bishop. The head bishop was appointed by the head church in the Holy Empire, but it was always a person we recommended. Above the head bishop was the council of bishops, and above them was the Holy King. I understand. Now, can you tell me about the Crusaders? Rimuru asked, his interest piqued. The Crusaders are the military branch of the Holy Empire. They are tasked with protecting the borders of nations that have adopted Luminism as a state religion and also fight various monster incursions. The Holy King also has his own personal guards known as the Battle Sages, and lording over them all is Lady Hinata Sakaguchi, the head of the Crusaders and the Battle Sages. Her rank is just below the king, and she carries out all the work in the kingdom, or so I have heard, I explained, recounting what I knew. Understood. This is really useful information you have brought to me, so it was impossible that Hinata was ordered by someone to kill me. What can you tell me about Luminism as a religion? Rimuru asked, his tone thoughtful. Luminism believes there is only one true God, and that is Lady Luminius. We are taught to be frugal and separate ourselves from worldly desires. Everyone is equal before God Luminius, and wealthy people are encouraged to donate to the poor and needy. Everyone gets free basic education, which is how I got mine, I explained, outlining the core tenets of the faith. So they are essentially a theocratic socialist nation. Never thought I would say those two words together. What are their stances on monsters? Rimuru mused, his expression contemplative. Sorry to interrupt, but what is the meaning of the words you spoke, Rimuru? King Gazel asked, his curiosity piqued. They are terms from my previous world. Theocracy is a government where the people are ruled by a religious head and consider faith to be absolute, governed by the rules of the faith. Socialism is a concept where it is argued that all people are born equal and should be provided equal opportunities, but they hate religion and believe in atheism, Rimuru explained, his tone informative. Thank you. So basically, they are far apart from each other, yet over here it is working together? King Gazel asked, his tone intrigued. Yes, that is a very surprising thing to me, at least. Anyway, Mine, continue your explanation, Rimuru encouraged, gesturing for me to proceed. Yes, we consider all monsters to be spawns of evil, and they must be eradicated. Speaking, making contact, negotiating, nothing is allowed. And we are to kill all monsters when we see them without mercy, I explained, my voice steady. Ah, so that is why Hinata refused to listen to what I had to say. Makes sense, Rimuru concluded, his expression thoughtful. Is that all you wanted to ask? I inquired, ready to conclude my part. Yes, that is all I wanted to ask, and now we can conclude this meeting, Rimuru replied, his tone satisfied. Heed my words. This country is going to perish, declared an intruder. A fairy who waltzed in suddenly, her voice ringing through the room. Who is that fairy? I wondered, taken aback by the sudden interruption. That, my mistress, is Lady Ramiris, Queen of all spirits, Ifrit informed, his tone respectful. Wait, then that also makes her my queen, right? I asked, my curiosity piqued. Not really, as you were born by our fusion, so you are a free entity, but she does have some authority over you, Ifrit clarified, his tone reassuring. I see, I mused, watching as Rimuru confronted our unexpected guest. The room was abuzz with curiosity and anticipation as Rimuru approached the fairy, ready to address the latest development in the ever-evolving meeting taking place. Third-person pod. The meeting in Tempest, a historic gathering of men and monsters, was suddenly interrupted by an unexpected visitor. Fuse, the guildmaster from Bloomend, turned to Rimuru with a puzzled expression. Rimuru-sama, do you know this fairy? Fuse asked, his curiosity piqued. Ah, the meeting got interrupted, Rimuru thought, recognizing the small figure. Well, she's a fairy called Ramiris and an old friend. Despite her appearance, she's actually a demon lord, Rimuru explained, a hint of amusement in his voice. Oi, what's with that attitude? Don't judge me based on my appearance. I am known as the most terrifying and one of the strongest among the 10 great demon lords, Ramiris retorted, puffing up with indignation. Demon lord. Fuse echoed, disbelief evident in his voice. The room was filled with murmurs, but the participants didn't seem overly surprised. Ahaha. Why? You guys should act more surprised. I am a demon lord. You know, I am the fairy of the labyrinth. You know, why is everyone so calm? Ramiris demanded, her voice rising in frustration. No, actually, since Rimuru-sama is a demon lord as well, it's reasonable to expect him to know other demon lords. Someone reasoned, nodding in agreement. Or perhaps I've gotten over the shock of the Storm Dragon's revival, so I'm kinda numb to these things now. Another added, shrugging. People started talking and nodding to each other, seemingly unfazed by the revelation. Ramiris, looking increasingly restless, screamed again, I will say this one more time, this country is going to perish. That line came right out of her mouth, causing a ripple of concern. What did you say? Rimuru responded flatly, his expression calm. Ramiris began to follow up insatiably. Haha, I didn't want to see that happening either. That's why I came to inform you, so be thankful. So, why will our country perish? Rimuru inquired, his tone steady. About that, before I could tell you the reason. Ramiris paused, switching to a more serious expression. She glanced around at all the important individuals from each country, and with a slight nod, she continued. All right, this may still be relevant to humans. Very well, you guys should hear it too. Demon Lord Clayman has proposed to initiate the Walpurgis banquet. Walpurgis banquet? Rimuru echoed, intrigued. Yes, Walpurgis banquet. The special meeting where demon lords across the world sit under one roof, Ramiris explained, her tone grave. The room reacted with a mix of fear and curiosity. There are records that state there will be a great war after each meeting among demon lords. That's why the Western Holy Church decided to name that day the Walpurgis banquet, Archduke Errold explained, his voice somber. According to Errold, it is a document from about 1,000 years ago that recorded the event. It is said that the Great War led to great catastrophe with heavy casualties. Due to the Western Holy Church naming the event Walpurgis banquet, people think it means the demon lord's feast that will destroy the world and plunge it into chaos. Does that mean that the Great War was caused by the demon lords? Rimuru asked, with curiosity. No way, I don't have that kind of free time. Isn't waging war super complicated? No one wants to do that, Ramiris protested, her voice indignant. Demon Lord Ramiris's words are probably true. The Great War has the official name, Tenma Great War between angels and demons where all major forces are competing for control. With that being said, Errol continued, his tone thoughtful. According to Errol, the Great War takes place every 500 years. The reason for that? It is said that the angelic force from heaven would attack the earth. The army from heaven, meaning the angel race. The angels are like the monster's natural nemesis, but they attack indiscriminately, or rather, for some reason, they always pick the most advanced cities to attack first. The reason is that they don't want humans to progress very quickly and hence they destroy all the human civilizations, especially the ones who are highly advanced. That's the reason why we've stayed underground and refused to come out, Gazel added, his voice pragmatic. The development of Dwargon is going well and is surely going to be eye-catching, so this decision is most definitely the right one. It's the same case for the Sorcerer's Dynasty Sarian, which has its cities built inside the giant caverns of the God Tree. I recall Gazel mentioning the city embraced by the God Tree to Errol. It must have been a reference to this fact. The two powerful nations both took the necessary precautions involving national defense. On the other hand, the Western nations. The Council, it was made up of Western nations in order to defend against the monsters. And the other reason is to survive the Great War. The countries in the Council pledged to help each other out, while Dwargon and Sarian are both able to hold their own ground. The enemy here is the angel race alone, but it's not the entire story. When the angel race attacks, the monsters also become more active. The monsters in question are ones that possess intelligence, aka the Majins. Some demon lords would take advantage of the Great War to invade human nations. It was the case 1,000 years ago, and tales depict it to be a brutal scene. Even so, the humans themselves aren't enemies to be underestimated either. If that's the case, what is the point of the Walpurgis banquet? Why are all the demon lords gathering? Rimuru asked, seeking clarity. If it's not related to the Great War, there must be other goals. About that, first off, you seem to have misunderstood, so allow me to explain, Ramiris began, her tone patient. Right after which, Ramiris started speaking, which cleared various doubts of the people present here. We actually hold the banquet quite often. It only needs 3 or more demon lords' approval to initiate, so it's not hard. In its past, it's the equivalent of me, Guy, and Milam having a little tea party, Ramiris informed, her tone light. In other words, the Walpurgis banquet is just the demon lords gathering together to update each other on each other's status while discussing trending topics. It's just that the humans certainly wouldn't know about that, but it's really nothing dramatic, she explained, breaking the huge news. Idiot! If it's just a small tea party, why would you say our nation is doomed? Rimuru replied, his voice tinged with frustration. Ah, no, the problem isn't the banquet itself, it's the subject matter. Ramiris corrected herself, her tone earnest. Ramiris said there are 2 other people supporting Clayman's initiation. They are Demon Lord Frey and Milam. Due to the 3 Demon Lords' motion, including that of Clayman, the proposal is approved. Apart from that, the subject of discussion is the rise of the new force in the Great Jura Forest, and the leader of the Forest Alliance dares to proclaim himself as a Demon Lord. I mean, did you proclaim yourself a Demon Lord? Ramiris asked, her tone incredulous. Yeah, and I don't regret it, nor do I intend to reflect on it, Rimuru replied, his voice firm. I am not surprised it's you. You should be fine as long as you stay tenacious, even though there may be a lot of trouble on the way, Ramiris said, sounding quite relaxed and delighted, as if it's none of her business. So, are they going to punish me? Rimuru asked, his tone curious. They've indeed planned on punishing me, or so I thought, but things seem different from what I hear from Ramiris soon. That is the case in name, but whether you get punished is not the point, it's simply an unwritten rule in our industry. Clayman initiated the banquet because he claimed Demon Lord Carrion has betrayed everyone. Not only that, Clayman is also going to press the issue that his subordinate Mayurin was murdered, Ramiris explained, her tone serious. Is being a Demon Lord considered a job? What industry are you talking about? Rimuru teased her but got ignored. It seems that Clayman is claiming someone has murdered Mayurin and would probably say the criminal is the newcomer named Rimuru who dares to proclaim himself as a Demon Lord. His goal is likely. Report. Presumably, he is planning to take over the territory of Demon Lord Carrion and subjugate the Great Jura Forest. Raphael interjected, its tone analytical. Probably. I think so as well, Rimuru mused. Is that why Clayman's army has taken action? Clayman wants to take the initiative before we could act. Demon Lord Clayman is better than expected. How come you are so calm in the face of such an important issue? According to my source, Carrion seems to have been beaten by Milam. The Majins under Clayman also seem to have commenced military operations. In other words, you are no longer being judged. This is already war. Clayman has found the excuse to attack you all out. Ramiris exclaimed, her voice urgent. Even under these circumstances, Ramiris, looking surprisingly serious, went on a tangent. Her words caused the crowd to panic. To even some bigger nations, it's a tremendous deal when a demon lord is getting attacked. How dare you say that Carrion-sama is a traitor? How rude! Albus exclaimed, her voice filled with indignation. Clayman cannot be forgiven. Nice idea of his, but I'll crush his ambitions, Sufia declared, her resolve unwavering. Even without Carrion-sama, our army is still around. We won't allow Clayman's subordinates to just do what they want. Phobio added, his voice firm. The ones who reacted the most are no doubt the three Beastketeers. Calm down, Ramiris. I did proclaim myself to be a demon lord, but I didn't kill Myron, Rimuru interjected, his tone calm. What do you mean by that? Ramiris asked, her curiosity piqued. Nothing in particular, those are lies by Clayman. I expected that he would come looking to punish me by accusing me of killing Myron, Rimuru explained, his voice steady. Besides, hold on a second. Do you have a single fact to back that up? Ramiris asked, her tone skeptical. Well, about that, pardon me, Demon Lord Ramiris-sama. Please allow me to speak. The one who is rumored to be dead, Myron, who's Clayman's Majin subordinate, is actually me. Myron interjected, her voice calm. Ramiris was astonished upon hearing Myron's name, but she regained her composure shortly after. That would mean. I get it, the real criminal is Demon Lord Clayman? Ramiris exclaimed, her voice triumphant. Ramiris began to brag about her deduction. Oh, I agree with your view, but I've got something to ask too, Rimuru interjected, his tone curious. Oh, what's the matter? Why don't you just ask me, the famed detective Ramiris? Ramiris replied, her tone playful. What would the other demon lords do in circumstances such as this? Rimuru asked, his tone thoughtful. Ramiris, who didn't seem to care, responded by saying, how am I supposed to know? I've only been told about the banquet initiation and was told to participate. She answered without a care. Didn't I tell you? Let me think, I think it's 1 month from now, the night of the new moon, Ramiris replied, her tone casual. Right, so why did you come here to inform us? Rimuru asked, his curiosity piqued. Well, honestly, if you got killed, I don't know what would happen to my Beretta. That's why I decided to make the trip to help you. That's all it is. It's why I also plan to build an entrance to the labyrinth here. It's fine, right? Ramiris explained, her tone earnest. You'd better be. How did we end up on that topic? And an entrance to the labyrinth. What the hell are you trying to build here? Rimuru asked, his tone incredulous. It's really nothing, so don't mind this type of small favor now. Ramiris replied, her tone dismissive. I mind it a lot, and you'd better be cautious with your words. Also, please stop treating Beretta like some personal object you own, Rimuru admonished, his tone firm. The meeting was dismissed, and Fuse decided to stay in the inn for the night before returning. Now that your nation has caught the ire of the demon lords, do prepare yourself. Demon lords are dangerous existences. Even though I know, Rimuru-san, that you're pretty powerful as well, Fuse advised, his tone serious. By the way, why the long wait for this Walpurgis? Rimuru asked, his curiosity piqued. I don't know, it seems Clayman has some scheme up his sleeve, Fuse replied, his tone thoughtful. Very well, we will begin our preparation. I also have plans to conduct a founding festival after all this is dealt with, Rimuru announced, his tone determined. Rimuru replied and immediately went to planning to defeat Clayman in the upcoming war. Unbeknownst to him, a lot of players had started moving, whose interests aligned with each other, That is, the destruction of Tempest.